Good morning and welcome to West Coast Grandma. My name is Elizabeth, and today we really have to get busy picking some of the herbs in the garden that are going to be dehydrated to make all my winter teas. I have a whole set of jars in my cupboard, and I kind of collect each herb as it becomes ready and dehydrate them, and then come the winter I can make any kind of mixture: chamomile tea, basil tea, peppermint, spearmint, you name it. So today we're going to just do a little walk up to the garden, and we're going to see if we can find a few things to get started dehydrating and get busy with that. So come the winter, we're going to be prepared. Everything is just growing like crazy now, and it's lush and pretty inviting to be outside. So as soon as I see the sun coming up in the garden, I'm kind of anxious to get outside. I've got tons of zucchinis coming right there. All kinds. And my sunflowers are getting big. It's pretty nice. It's a pretty nice time of year. I'm just gonna head up here to the garden. Wanted to show you, these are my shelling peas. I've got to get out later today and pick some of those too. Yeah. Alrighty, we'll head into the garden and see what's ready. Look at that great big bumblebee. He's just having a great time, and I'm so happy he's there. I just have to run back here. I just have to stop. So I'm just gonna grab a handful of these, have something to eat quick, and then head back up to the garden, and we'll start picking those herbs. Okay, one of the first things I'm going to get today is these little chamomile flowers, and as you can see, they're all closed up at the moment, which is actually the best time to pick them because it's just 8 o'clock in the morning and they're still all closed up from the night and the dew. So we're going to go through, and we are going to just pop out these little flowers, and we're just going to pick a bunch of them, and I'm going to put them all in my basket, and that'll be one thing so far, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do with them a little bit later. One more view of that bee. He is on my lychee tomatoes. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to get here is spearmint. This is one of my ultimate favorites, and it's still okay. I've left it a little bit long. This life is busy, so I'm just gonna pick off clumps because I'll take all the leaves off when I get in the house. And the nice thing about all these mints is that when you trim them like this, they'll come back just beautifully. So if you don't get enough right now, or you decide that they're a little too far along and you want them a little well, not fresher, but younger, you can just wait a little bit. These will come back in no time. Mint grows like crazy. That's why I've got this in a big pot up on a stone, because if you don't, the roots will go down through the bottom of the pot and you will have mint everywhere. So like I say, this is spearmint, and again, one of my favorites for making tea in the winter. So we're just going to grab a bit more of this, and we're going to take it back to the house. Okay, as you can see here, I do use a lot of pots for just putting different herbs in. I just find that it's much easier to control them. This is just some leftover basil that I had. I just stuck it in a pot that was empty. And these are some more of my basil plants. But this one here is a kind of a special one. This is stevia. And stevia is a natural sweetener. And oh my God, you just have to take one leaf and suck on it. It's delicious. So stevia is a pretty big one for me. I haven't found it particularly easy to grow, but this year I had lots of luck with it. So there it is in the pot here, and I am going to harvest a few leaves off it today. So we'll get a start on it and let it just keep on coming, and probably do another 1 or 2 pickings before the winter. So that's stevia. So here we are, I'm down with my little stevia plant. It's so bright, so I'm trying not to get the sun either glaring or in my eyes. But anyway, here's my little stevias. And all I'm gonna do is just with my fingers, just pick off leaves. They're so strong. You've probably seen, like when you put stevia in any drink, if it's like bought stevia powder or whatever, you hardly need any, and this is the same thing. One of these leaves would probably be more than enough for a whole pot of herb tea. So we're just gonna pick some of the leaves off here. Oh, it's so healthy too. Like I say, I've had a bit of an issue getting it to germinate. It's really not an easy plant to germinate, but this year it looks perfect. So we're gonna just grab a few of these off here, and then we're gonna move along to the next one. Okay, this one we have right here is holy basil, or Tulsi basil, as a lot of people like to call it. This one, the flowers are edible, of course, as well as the leaves. So we're just gonna grab our scissors, and I'm just gonna take bunches of this one, and I'm just gonna cut them off, and we're just gonna dry the whole thing in the dehydrator. This again is another one of my favorites, is holy basil. So I always make sure that there's a jar of that in my cupboard. Here we have an awesome patch of snap peas. These are not to dehydrate. These are for snacking on your way to doing all your work in your garden. It's my meal, my lunch, whatever. So these are just snap peas. They're just delicious, and they're ready. This is another little pot I have of holy basil. You can see this one's not doing quite as well, but it's definitely taking off. So you just have to be patient with these herbs. Some years are better than others. I still have a fair lot of dried herbs in my little collection for teas. But what I do is, as I get fresh ones, I just dump the other ones into my compost and replace them with the fresh, because dehydrated herbs definitely kind of lose their pizzazz after a year. So it's nice to replace all these things. If I was desperate, I could still keep it. Oh, I just have to stop and show you my cabbage. That's Savoy cabbage, which we love. It's just growing like crazy now, and there's more peas. And my beans are starting to finally grow up the trellis. See them starting to climb up? They will get usually right to the top and then all hang down. So it's gonna look kind of neat when they do that. In the background, that's my pumpkin patch. It's definitely taken off too. Of course, this nice weather, all the garden's taking off. Now this is a patch of lemon balm. And this is actually over a bit in my neighbor's, because my husband so kindly weed-eated my garden for me and cut all the lemon balm down. So I already have done a harvest of the lemon balm. There you go. It's a great medicinal plant. Yeah, you can see there's lots here. I can just go and just pick tons. But I do already have some. This is another good one to get to your collection. So you definitely want lemon balm. I'm just gonna harvest some of this baby bok choy too while I'm here. As you can see, it's just starting to go to seed, but those flowers are totally fine to eat and taste still tender and good. There's some Chinese cabbages in the background. They're not doing too bad either. But today I'm just gonna grab some of this while I'm here. And just another stop for a little snack. Look at these big raspberries. Yeah, they're doing beautifully. Look at the size of that one. This is our old raspberry patch. It's not very big because we dug a lot of it out and put some new plants in, but I think because we sort of looked after it, and it's not crowded at all, it's doing well. We've been eating quite a few raspberries off here. And welcome back to my kitchen. So I've gone ahead and got all these herbs ready, and what I did is I took each handful and soaked them in the sink in water and swished them off a few times, and then laid them out on these paper towels just to dry, because otherwise it's just going to take that much longer in the dehydrator. So I have my spearmint, holy basil, stevia, peppermint, and the chamomile flowers. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put them on the trays, and they're all ready to go in the dehydrator because they dried out. But one little trick is that once they're drying, they all start to look kind of the same, especially the mint. So I always write the name on a piece of paper, and I'm just going to pop it underneath that little tray. And then I go ahead and put my peppermint leaves on here and just sort of spread them out like so. All right, and I'm just going to continue to do that with each one. Oh, let's do the stevia here. Here's my little label, because I think I'm going to remember, but nope, I don't remember. So actually the stevia is not bad, it's kind of different. So, and of course the chamomile flowers you can't miss, and they take quite a bit longer in the dehydrator too. So, so you probably wouldn't really need to put a label on those. So there's my stevia. And let's get the holy basil here, or the tulsi basil. And I've just left the flowers, like I say. So we'll just put the whole thing on there like that. And again, I put all my paper towels in my compost. They're compostable. I don't feel quite so bad at using them. And here's my chamomile flowers. I don't need a label for that. But the labels are really a good idea. So put them like so. And I'm just gonna continue on like this, and I'm gonna put everything on my peppermint label, and I'm gonna put them all into my dehydrator. Now, I'm gonna put this fairly cool, so probably between 110 and 115 degrees. And I will check it every few hours, because you don't want them to kind of stay in there so long that they've been dried out for 2 or 3 hours. You want to try to catch them pretty close to the time that they're ready. I don't worry about the stems, because when you're making tea, it doesn't really matter anyways. I have a little sieve, and so any little stems or bits that are in for my tea doesn't really matter. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish this and get this in the dehydrator, and then I'm just gonna show you how my cupboard looks with the jars all ready for winter teas. Alrighty, so I will be back in a sec. I will just go pop these into the dehydrator. Okay, so here we have my cupboard, and it's right by where I keep my kettle, and that is all my jars of different herbs for my tea. So I will quickly go through them, and because I do have a couple in there that I've collected from last year that are still a ways away from being ready to redo. So I am just gonna go through each one and let you know what they are. So first of all, this is my peppermint. And again, I just use canning jars, they're the best. And this is where I reuse the lids that I have previously had sealed on a jar, because I don't need to worry if the seal is damaged a bit. And actually, you can actually rub off the writing, but for me, I can just cross it off and rewrite it. So this is peppermint from 2022. That's what's left. This was some lavender. This was my own lavender. But as you can see, I really haven't used much of it. So I'll debate whether or not to do that again. Here's my stevia from last year. I'm definitely going to be adding to that, because that pretty well goes in everything. This is my chamomile flowers, and you can see I still have quite a lot of those. So even though they don't last forever, I may not worry about getting too many more, seeing as one of my plants is already kind of done. So, and you see each one of them has those little oxygen packets in that I collect from any other edible food things that I buy at the grocery store. So this one is lemon mint. This is another one I want to collect, and I just cut it back and it's not quite ready, but you can see I've used a lot of this one. I like the lemon mint. Alrighty. This one is spearmint. I didn't use a lot of the spearmint, even though it's kind of my favorite, but I actually did, I think I did have another jar. So regardless of this being full, I do use quite a lot of the spearmint. And my holy basil, same thing. I had 2 jars because I love holy basil, and I still have a fair bit. So that's good. And lemon balm that I was talking about, I've already changed it to 2023, because this is a herb that I've already collected this year before my husband weed whacked it all down. So, and this one, oh, this is strawberry leaves. I was reading about strawberry leaves. I just gathered these ones when they were first starting to grow. You just use They're really tender, small ones. And I do have a book on teas, so, and it's kind of like remedies. So there was a couple that called for raspberry leaves. So, or not raspberries, I'm sorry, strawberry leaves. So that's what those are. And the last one, which looks beautiful in my cupboard, I haven't used it a ton. It's calendula and marigolds. And I think I also put, what else did I put in there that was the purple ones? I'll have to think what that was. Maybe it was a tiny bit of lavender. But anyway, I just thought this looked gorgeous. Now this you could even just sprinkle, heck, you could sprinkle it on anything. And then if you were baking it in the oven, it would still look kind of pretty because the marigold, again, has got some medicinal properties, and the calendula. So both of those I have lots of in my garden, and I could replenish this one. So there we go, and they're all there. All I do is grab out, and I do like, what's my typical? It would be peppermint or spearmint, lemon mint, and the holy basil, and then I'll throw in a handful of the chamomile flowers, because I usually make it at night before I go to bed. So that's my cupboard of teas. You can always grab a little book on homemade teas, and you'll find lists of all the different herbs that you can use, and you might have something different that you would want to try. I also did, let me grab it here. This is lemongrass. Again, I had all the great idea and didn't use it, but you just take the long leaves and you make it into like a little wreath. You just wrap it around and around, and then you just put one of these in your cup. So they look pretty neat. See that? They're kind of cool. I was actually, when I made this, it was actually going to be a gift for somebody, which then I found out that she didn't like herbal teas at all. So anyway, that's what that was all about. So, and I do have lemongrass growing again in my garden this year. So I might make some more. Anyway, so that's that for my selection of herbal mixtures for my winter teas. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope that you were able to get something from it. I hope that you'll subscribe to my channel, and for sure hit the like button. Anyways, we'll catch you again. West Coast Grandma is signing out. So long.